Selected in the second round of the 1997 NFL Draft, 60th overall, Darren Sharper, he was a dog on the field. He played safety very successfully, as a matter of fact, for 14 years. With 63 interceptions and even consideration to the Hall of Fame, you'd think that would be a legacy anyone could be proud of. But Darren had a little secret. Actually, a big secret. One that shook the NFL and one that really horrified the sports fans. So, this is the story of Darren Sharper, NFL great, and now an inmate doing 20 years in prison. I want to welcome everybody to Royal Black and Elite. We talk about history, but today we're going to talk a little bit about culture and, in particular, this story because so much is happening around this. And this man is getting ready to get out of prison. So I thought you'd find this story interesting. I want to welcome all of my visitors and hello, Royalers. Welcome, everyone. Don't forget to hit that like, share, and subscribe and hype this video. It's very interesting as we find out about this man who had a very successful career. There's no reason he should have been doing what he was doing, but we're going to find out a little bit about him. Now, this is really interesting also because my ex, he played and he coached in the NFL, but no one could ever imagine what Darren was doing to these women. Now, Sharper was born on November the 3rd, 1975 in Richmond, Virginia. Now, by all early accounts, he lived a very normal early life. He played football in high school. He was shining. And his brother also played. His brother's name was Jamie. He also had a sister. Now, he attended Hermitage High School, where he was honored on their Wall of Fame. However, that honor was really quickly taken down once some allegations came out about him. And you'll see how terrible those allegations were. Now, he was drafted in 1997 and he signed a 4-year rookie deal contract for $1.82 million. He played 14 seasons. And after retiring in 2010, he worked for the NFL Network from 2012 until he was fired in 2014. He was a sports analyst. So, by all accounts, you could just see he had the Midas touch. Great at football, great analyst. And I mean, let's all admit, he was a handsome man. So, all the women, they just swooned over him. So it was just shocking that he was later charged with what he was charged with. And that lets you know that these attacks on these women, it has nothing to do with looks. This man looked the part, and by all, accounts, women always say, oh, I want a 6-figure man, and he needs to be able to do this. I want an NFL guy. He fit the bill, and he was even an analyst afterwards. All of that, if you would have looked from the outside, qualified him to be someone's boo. But he was no one's boo. He was doing some stuff that was terrible. He was accused of putting things in women's drinks from state to state. So he couldn't be just satisfied with staying in the state he was playing with. He was all over the place doing it. The first allegations, they came out on March 18th, 2011, when 2 women filed a criminal complaint against Sharper in Miami. Now, they alleged they passed out after being given a drink by him. Now, they were at his condo and they were partying during spring break. And he invited them back up, and they were drinking and everything. And, women, they let their guard down. Here's a man who is on television, has had a 14-year NFL career, so surely he's not going to do anything to me. But that's exactly what he did. Now, by 2013, he faced 6 more allegations. And in June 2014, he allegedly attacked women in California and in Las Vegas. The thing about these ladies, they weren't staying quiet. They were talking. He was incapacitating these women with Valium, Xanax, and Ambien, allegedly. Now, they were helpless to protect themselves. They would often wake up in the bed, not knowing what happened, who they've been with, and Darren sitting up there looking like he didn't ate a whole piece of cake. Now, I won't say allegedly anything about this because on August the 18th, 2016, he pled guilty in federal court on federal charges because, of course, he was going from state to state. His team had worked out a cushy 9-year deal. He's sitting in there smiling, thinking he was getting ready to get off, but the judge rejected it right away and sentenced Sharper to 18 years and 4 months, followed by 3 years of supervised release. He is incarcerated at the FCI Oakton prison, and he's scheduled to be released in 2028. Now, I can only imagine he probably getting all kind of letters from women while he's in there, but the things that he has accused of and pled guilty to are horrendous. But his release is around the corner. Now, his defendants, Lasardio and Nunez, they also pled guilty. And Lasardio was a sheriff's deputy. So even, getting these women, setting them up, it took more than Darren to be able to do it. And I'm really so sorry for these women who were hurt by this man and his creepy friends. I'm glad that they caught him. And ladies, a handsome face doesn't mean you are safe. Vice versa, men, a pretty face doesn't mean you're safe either. Assault is about control and rage, and an attacker can come in any form, shape, size, or color. Tell me what you think down below. Did you know Darren Sharper? Did you hear this story? And did you know he was getting ready to get out? I can't believe he's already been in prison this long. Now, I don't even want to say that this was CTE related, because even though he played in the sport for a long time and he did play safety, the thing is, these attacks against these women, they were coordinated. They went from state to state. They were high level. He had to get the medicine. He had to convince the woman to come back to the apartment. He had to convince the woman to drink. And I think that's probably why they didn't even try to put it on, diminished capacity or mental illness, because he wasn't mentally ill. He knew what he was doing. And unfortunately, these many, many women were hurt at the hands of this man. He was definitely an elite athlete, but he did not represent our race well doing what he did to women. So be sure to like, share, and subscribe. Tell me what you think down below. And thank you for joining me for another great episode of Royal Black and Elite.